Hello everyone, Vince Briatore here. So, a lot's been going on lately. Obviously I'm in a new place. And we'll get to that. I'll kind of give you guys a rundown of what's been going on in my life. But today, I want to talk about Monero. Now, a few weeks ago, I tweeted out and posted, on social media about Monero and how I thought it was going to perform really well the next few months for a variety of reasons. And I kind of want to reiterate that, but in a video. Before I do, here are the last performance-wise of some of the popular cryptocurrencies I talk about. First off, Bitcoin so far the past 7 days is up 11%. Monero, which I think I kind of put this about a week ago. I talked about it. It's up 27%. Bitcoin 11. Link, another popular pick, 15%. It's up for the week. MCO is up 16%, while BNB is actually down 2.6%. So looking at those figures, you might be pretty excited about Monero. And it's my belief that Monero will keep on performing really well the next few months for a few different reasons. Mainly the extra scrutiny that we're getting into Bitcoin from governments and such. Also, it's tax time in the US, and historically Monero does better around these periods of time if you look at each year. Now, Monero, I'm not going to go into all the technical details about Monero, but XMR, that's the symbol for Monero. So essentially, Monero has an obfuscation of the ledger. So you know how Bitcoin has a public ledger? Well, Monero is a private by default cryptocurrency with an obfuscated ledger, meaning you cannot see the recipient, the sender, or the amount, or any of this information in the ledger. Essentially making it completely private by default. Nobody can track this. To date, nobody's been able to crack this. I follow a lot of the cases related to illegal activity and dark web sellers and stuff. I find it interesting to look into, how these people get caught. And Monero is never an issue. People tend to overestimate the privacy that Bitcoin can give you. But being that it has a public ledger, you can track transactions so far back that it ends up on an exchange or somewhere with a two-factor authentication or not, a KYC compliant where you have to give your information. So that kind of stuff can be tracked quite a bit more than people estimate. So Monero is the de facto go-to for these kind of things. And it's not necessarily that people are using it for tax evasion in the sense of like right before tax time, because that wouldn't necessarily make sense. But when you approach these kind of, times where there's taxes due, people may start becoming interested in these kind of things and start investing in more. And that's what we're seeing now. And that's my belief, obviously, is the extra scrutiny from government and tax time is pushing money into XMR. It's still a very small percentage of XMR that is used for illicit activities, if you will. Most of it is investment funds and more practical uses for people that just enjoy privacy. So it's definitely one to look into, especially just given the performance. I think back in October, I did my top 3 picks for the year: MCO, Link, and CRO. These coins have been doing incredibly well. I may do another list of my top cryptocurrency picks, and XMR is definitely going to be number 1. So you hear it now. If you want to invest or you want to take a second look, this should definitely be something in a diversified portfolio. You want to put your money in something that's privacy centered. Monero is the king of this, specifically for the privacy by default. A lot of other cryptocurrency use different techniques. Not always obfuscation of the ledger. Sometimes they scramble transactions and stuff like that. But that's all stuff that, it's an accessory to it. So you have it in the wallet. You have to select scramble transactions. You know what I mean? So if you're not an extremely technical person, people assume they're using Bitcoin private or they're using a cryptocurrency that is privacy centered, but they don't know that there's extra steps. So when you say private by default, that means that no matter what the hell you're doing with it, if you have Monero, any transaction, Monero to Monero wallet, whatever, is completely obfuscated and nobody's going to be able to track it. Obviously, I still wouldn't necessarily purchase Monero on an exchange if you're doing it for commerce purposes or for sending to people and you want that privacy. But you can send this to Shapeshift or Changely or something like into Monero. Once it goes from a Bitcoin wallet into Monero, you're in the clear. You might want to take a few extra steps. But anyway, we're not here to discuss the actual pursuit of privacy. We're talking about prices here and interest. And so there you have it. XMR is at the top of its game. And I'm really glad that I spotted this and that I had the thought as far as this kind of stuff. And a lot of times you gotta back away from TA, because TA is only gonna take you so far. But obviously the TA kind of lines up with this as far as, well, depending on what TA you're looking at. But if you're looking at previous years and you're looking at about time frames, you're gonna see this always does well around this time. Hopefully Bitcoin, there is some correlation with the price with Bitcoin, as always. So but we all know the halving is happening in March or whatever, and so Bitcoin is due to perform well. And as long as that follows with Bitcoin performing well, XMR is going to have like that multiplier of performance. And that's, in the end, that's the goal. Outperform Bitcoin, right? So there we have it. As far as me personally, obviously I'm filming in a new place. I've kind of gone through a personal transition. It's been a challenging time, and I've discussed this in other videos, but I haven't necessarily been specific. It has to do with my personal life. Kind of, going from one relationship, and kind of starting anew, I suppose. This is something that, and I don't want to get into too many details or name names, for privacy reasons. We're talking about Monero privacy, so everybody deserves some privacy, right? But let's just say that this was a joint decision, a mutual reason to part ways due to not necessarily being the best for one another. And it's difficult because I think we still care for each other deeply, and there's a lot of emotion in that. But at different times, both of us have recognized that we don't bring out necessarily the best in each other. But we've been together, over 2 years. And so it's just difficult. It's really hard. Unfortunately, we're not married. We don't have children and stuff like that. But still have, supported each other through some difficult transitions emotionally. And I don't know. It is it's just hard to wrap your head around getting to know someone and sharing such intimate struggles, and then just walking away, kind of. And I don't know. I feel really shitty about it. But I mean, you got to recognize, in the end, we only have one life to live. And we're both in our 30s, and the longer you wait to do these things, even if maybe you're uncertain and there's so much up in the air, like sometimes you just gotta make the decision and kind of hope that if something's meant to be, like you can reconnect, like everything's gonna be for the best, I guess. It sounds cheesy. I don't know, but obviously we lived together for 9 months. About to count about a year and a half, so 9 months. So for ease, I actually left. Excuse me. So that makes the situation even more difficult because, I miss kind of home, but I'm trying to do what's best and kind of give each other space. I don't know. It is such a challenging thing, and there's so much emotion involved that you never know if you're making the right choice. But when I think you both acknowledge, right, at different times or at the same time, that things are not necessarily going in the direction you want, and you kind of like in this situation, if you stay living in the same place, you're going to fall back into the same routine, and it's just going to be a never-ending circle. So sometimes, some time apart is what you need to kind of open your eyes. And I don't know, but there's always the risk, right, that the saying, you don't know what you have until you lose it. Insomma, I don't know. Like I said, I'm just going through life, man, and I hate the idea of someone being angry or upsetting anyone. I'm trying to be as reasonable and accommodating as possible, and I know that Neither one of us ever did anything like out of malice. At this point, it's just so hard to avoid malice in these kind of situations. Like, you just kind of go at each other and insult each other because you're hurt and you assume the worst of people. And that's not what I want to do. It's not how I want to be. And it is such a disservice in life, really, that someone's happiness can make someone else unhappy. But that's kind of just how it is, right? It works out that way. So I don't know. Sometimes, you just kind of gotta go with, go with the flow. But it's so funny because like sometimes it's a small thing, a decision you think is trivial, that starts a chain reaction of something that then becomes a huge thing and completely changes your life. And it all started with that small decision. So we think we're going with the flow, you do things, but it's like, I don't know how to explain it, man. But I've never quite been in this situation in the sense that, I've kind of been the kind of Brexited, if you will, most of my previous relationships over the past like decade. But I've never parted ways with someone that I actually cared so much about, and that I knew that like genuinely cared about me, And it's the strangest feeling, and that's what makes the entire thing so challenging. Because it's like you wonder, you ever gonna find someone that cares about you the way they do? These things they are. Sometimes you got to look at it like a business transaction. You got to take emotion out of it, and it's like the most impossible and challenging thing you could do, to take emotion out of a relationship, out of an emotional situation, something that's driven by emotion. But I don't know. Like I always preach to do so. I always preach to make the decisions that are best for the future, to not be impulsive, to hold back, to their wealth, is not attained by, spending money. And you have to be frugal. You have to be conscious of your goals. You have to follow a path. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys updated, But so far so good. It is not an easy thing. It's emotionally challenging. It's emotionally draining to worry about someone, to go through these things, but I don't know. So, I'm not giving too many details about like where I am now and things, like just out of respect and privacy. I don't want to upset anyone more than I've already upset them. And so trying to keep things kind of under wraps. We'll see how stuff pans out. Like I said, let's call this like a mutual thing. And it is mutual. Like it's something we both come to terms with. And there it is. So I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing. I'm going to try to do more videos. And I think I was doing a lot more videos in November. And kind of December has been that month where like all this happened around the holidays and like just everything has been going on. And like I said, it kind of just all culminated to this moment, I suppose. But I don't know. So I'm going to stay out the way and see what tomorrow brings. Really, I think I'm doing the best that I can do given the situation. Because anything else, if I did anything else, I would just be falling back into the same circle of events. Like something's got to change, right? And when you can't constantly be uncertain about things. So if eventually certainty has to show up somewhere, right? And I don't know. We'll see how things go. I want to thank you guys all for the support you've given me so far, kind of hearing me blabber and everything. And that's why I kind of wanted to give something back or share about my life without going into too much detail, be something most of us can probably relate on. And, you gotta stay in the grind. You gotta keep working even if you don't feel like it, even if personal things come in the way, because it is a new year and you never know. Like I said, a year from now, what's the situation? Probably a completely different situation. Maybe, who knows? What I'm saying is that challenges, sometimes you have to face these challenges in relationships. Sometimes the situation that either makes you or breaks you. No matter what, in the end, things should work out. But you have to, nobody else is going to do you any favors, right? I don't know. I don't know what that meant. I was more philosophical about it earlier. Now I'm just, it's emotionally draining. So I don't know. But thank you guys for tuning in. As always, buy red and sell green.
Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, ram, dog. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, 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 chicken. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, ram, dog.